Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of On the Range. Today, once again, I'm playing the A-10C Warthog in DCS World, and I'm going to pick a random topic today. This is kind of off the wall, but I'm going to call this video Demystifying the CBU. And I see a lot of questions, and just in my years of talking to people that fly DCS and watching the internet forums, you see a lot of confusion about why CBUs work the way that they do. Specifically talking the CBU 97, you always hear, hey, why can I not do a CCIP, CCIP release with these things? Or why can I not bomb with the CBU from low level? Why do I get this invalid fusing message? Or why do they just not work if I do manage to get them off the aircraft? So hopefully I can give you a little bit of background and tell you and show you why things work the way that they do. And I think you'll find that once you understand it, you can use some of the capabilities to your advantage and at least explain or at least understand why it doesn't work like you would think it would. So if I pop to an external view real quick, you can see that I have 4 CBUs currently loaded. I have 2 CBU 87s and 2 CBU 97s. And if you're completely unfamiliar with this type of munition, they're cluster munitions. So the bomb that you see you're loaded right now is filled with sub-munitions. Once the bomb reaches a certain altitude, they automatically dispense and release the sub-munitions that, keep going and then blow up whatever the target is. That's a pretty simple way of explaining it, but we'll get into a little bit more detail in the cockpit. So let's go to our dismiss page and see what kind of information this has for us. So let me select a CBU 87 first and go to the profile page and show you a key bit of information here that's programmed in by default that's going to control how the CBU works. The main thing to focus on, height of function, HOF. It's set to 1800, and that's 1800 feet. So by default, this bomb is going to function at 1800 feet. So, if you're paying attention, that should answer one of those big questions that you get as far as, hey, why can I not employ these at low level? That's because the minimum altitude that you can employ these from is 1800 feet. Any lower, and it's going to dispense as soon as you release it, and that is not a very safe thing to do. And having a munition dispense right on top of your aircraft is such a bad thing that the computer automatically inhibits. It keeps you from doing that in order to keep you safe. So with that set to 1800 feet, it's going to not allow you to drop from below 1800. And I'll demonstrate that here as we get a little further in. So going back to my profile page, let's have one more look at a profile, and this is the CBU 97. And this is going to be very similar to the CBU 87, almost identical, except the function time is 0.63 seconds if I wanted to do a non-proximity release, and I don't have a spin setting. This one does not spin, this type of dispenser. It just reaches that function altitude of 1800 feet and dispenses. Now let me select a CBU 97 and demonstrate a CCIP, CCIP type release. So that first main question, I said there were 2 questions. One being, why can I not do a CCIP release with the CBU 97? And the answer is, well, you can, just not exactly like you would with a Mark 82 or some other munition. And going back to the external view briefly, just kind of have a look at those dispensers. They're blunt in the front, they are not very streamlined, they're very, very high drag dispensers. So they're going to fall at a very, very steep angle. They're going to basically fall like a brick once you release it, and that is reflected in what you're going to see when I try to do a CCIP here. So let me go master arm to arm, and I'm in the CCIP bombing mode. Let me just kind of roll in real quick and show I'll go down to about a 50-degree dive angle. I'll chop my throttles and zoom in here so you can see what's happening. Okay, 50 degrees. And you can see, well, there you go. I can do a CCIP release. I just have to do it from a high altitude and at a high angle. And that's, it makes sense. It's a very, very non-streamlined, high drag munition. So that's where you would expect it to fall. It's going to release and then just basically go down like a brick. And that is reflected in what you see there. The CBU 87 is not quite as bad. If I bring it up and roll in one more time, with the 87, you have a little bit more I can get the pipper into the reticule into the field of view and keep it there. Whereas with the 97, once I select it, the reticule is outside the field of view. Now, the explanation behind that is that with the CBU-87, the way the bomblets work is that the bomblets continue on a ballistic path until they impact the ground. So from 1,800 feet to ground level, those bomblets are still going forward. With the CBU-97, the bomblets have parachutes attached, so once they hit that 1,800 foot height of function, they basically stop in midair and then come down on the parachute. That's why the reticule is further in front of you with the 87 as opposed to the 97. So hopefully that sheds a little bit of light on that first question of why can I not do a CCIP type release like I would expect with the CBU, especially a CBU 97. And well, I mean, you can. It's just different, and it's just the way that it's supposed to work. Now, that second question that a lot of people come up with is, what is this invalid fusing message that comes up in the HUD when I get down to low level mean, and why can I not employ from low level? And of course, if you've been paying attention, you saw that 1,800 foot altitude is the magic number, and you can see as I dove through 1,800 feet that I have invalid fusing, and that's just the aircraft saying, well, of course you can't do it down here because you really, really don't want to, and it's not going to work exactly like you want it to work. So if I come up above 1,800 feet, then invalid fusing message goes away, and now I can go back to normal function and normal employment of the weapon. Now, I mean, that is a pretty legitimate limitation on you. I mean, being down to this level, I mean, this is low level. This is what the A-10 does. So if you can't see the reticule, I mean, how do you bomb? How do you hit something from, say, 1,800 feet up to, 6,000 feet in that little sweet spot of altitude? Well, you're not totally out of luck, because what you can do, and I'll cover this in another video in detail and explain this a little better, but I can go IFC to test, and I have the CCIP consent option set to off by default, and that's how missions always start off. I need to set this to another setting, and I can do that by toggling my data rocker up to, we'll stay with a 3.9 setting, and that's worthy of a separate video, so more to come on what all this stuff means. But I go IFC back to on, and now before, when I just had no bomb reticule at all in my HUD, if I roll in, now you can see that I have a reticule at the bottom of the HUD. Now that doesn't mean that's where the bomb is going to impact. That just means that if I line up on a target and depress the weapons release switch, that it puts me into the CCRP, computer calculator release point mode, and I still have some capability. I can absolutely bomb from low level all the way down to 1,800 feet. So that's a lot of information to throw at you. Hopefully that covered at least those two questions, and hopefully answered a lot more that you might have had on your mind. So let's end this mission with a little bit of employment, and let's go ahead and roll in on some tanks and demonstrate the CBU-97 in action. Okay, so here I am approaching the target, and this CBU-97 is great against armor. It's great against anything, but it's designed for armor. And the 97 will be worthy of its own video describing that further. Let's go ahead and roll in and pick these armor pieces up visually. Okay, I've got you. So let's go ahead and continue to get in here close. I don't have to be very precise because this is a cluster munition. These munitions are going to dispense and spread out on their own. So I'm just going to throw this 97 down here into the middle of these tanks. Depress and hold the weapons release button. My steering cue is coming down to the reticule, and I just dispensed my first CBU-97. So it reaches that 1,800 foot altitude. You can see it dispense, and now those skeets are on their way down to those tanks on the ground. We'll see just exactly what this does to them here in just a second. And there we go, just as advertised. It takes a while, so you have to be patient, but give it time. It's going to do what it needs to do. And oh, they got away. I see one burning. That's good damage. He's going to be done soon. At least, at the very least, good mobility kill on one. And I know that it had to have done some damage to 2 others. So that's the CBU 97. Now let's do one more pass with the CBU 87. This one works slightly differently, but the basic employment is the same, but the effect that you get on the ground is different. And like I said, that 97, those skeets come down on a parachute, so they hang in the air a long time, but with the CBU 87, those bomblets keep on that ballistic path and continue right on down to the target. So we get some instant gratification out of this one. So let me find a suitable soft target to send these guys into. These are not designed to be like an anti-armor. They're combined effects munitions, so it's basically it does a little bit of everything. Okay, so I've got a group of, what are you, trucks, I think, up here in the distance. So I'm just aligning my reticule at the bottom of the HUD. I'm going to pre-designate once I have that over the target, and then I'm just going to put me into the CCIP release mode. So pre-designate, hold, release, off the target. Let's see how this works. They dispense at 1,800 feet. And impact. Got a good spread on that one. And that should have done the trick nicely. No immediate effects, but hey, give it time. Give it time. So folks, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did find it useful, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, and leaving a comment in the comment section below. Your feedback sure does help out a lot. So, have a good night, and I'll see you next time.